Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to make this stuff move around using Verse. Uh, Before you do anything else though, before you actually even watch this, there's something else that I want you guys to do. I want you to go watch the videos. I'll put a link in the description. This guy, Wahlbeck Warforge, is actually a way better instructor at this than I am. Go back and start his videos, learn UEFN and Verse, and then how to move and spin props. You can watch this one if you want to, but be sure and watch all his videos before you watch mine, because he's going to explain things starting out, so you just have a better understanding of what's going on before you start. Also, we're not going to type all this out in our Verse file. I'm just going to put a link in the description of where you can download this, and then you can copy it, paste it right into the right into your new Verse project. Anyway, so let's get started. First thing I want to do is I want to create a new project. So I'm going to go to my island templates and just select blank. I'm going to call it Verse Tutorial 1. And you don't have to create a new project. You can just put this into an existing project, or you can create a new one. It's just up to you. Let that do its thing. Now inside my content folder, I'm going to right click and create a new folder. I'm going to call it Materials. Then I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call it Props, because we're going to create a couple of props here. Just go into the material folder and then right click and create a new material. I'm going to call it M Prop Mat. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Just remember to call it something that you can remember. So I get in here, I'm just going to hold down 3, add it to the base color, add it to the emissive color. Then I'm going to right click on this and click convert to parameter. I'm just going to call it color. Go in here, I'm going to select maybe green. Save it. And then close it, right click it, and create a material instance. Now I'm going to call that I'm going to call it MI Prop Mat Green. Then I can just click create a duplicate. Call it Prop Mat Blue. Then I could just open the blue one. I got everything open in my secondary window here. Open the blue one, select the color, then go in and pick something that's blue. Save all that. Now I'm going to go into my props, and I don't have any props. What I want to do is go into modeling mode, and the first thing I'm going to do is create a box. I'm going to make it 100 by 100 by like just pop it down on there, accept it. I can go here to the elements and change it, but I'm not going to keep that there, so you can just delete it, and we'll go in and get it back here in a minute. Now I'm also going to create a sphere. Pop that in there. If you go down here and find pivot location base. I'm going to select centered. And then I can delete that also. Now back in your content browser, if you go into you've got a new folder here called meshes for these meshes we've just created. Let's go ahead and save them all. Go back into your props folder, right click, add a blueprint class, building prop. We're going to call it BPP for building blueprint prop. And then we're going to make this one the location marker. Go ahead and open that. It'll take a minute to get it open. In here for my static mesh, I'm gonna select the sphere, not the one in engine basic shapes, but the one that I've created. As you can see, the location path burst tutorial meshes. Select that one, and then we're gonna set the material on it. Just select it, the sphere, and then go down here, and we'll take the blue. MI prop matte blue. I don't know what that was all about. This works just fine. Palette. Let's duplicate that. We're going to call it BPP platform. And we can open the platform. If it opens into a window like this, you can just click Open Full Blueprint Editor. I'm going to select that sphere, and instead, no, I don't remember what we called that cube. Let's see. It just says box. Kind of unusual. Yeah. Make sure you go up to BPP's platform self, and then select the box. Then everything should be good. Select the platform. Instead of prop matte blue, we're going to pick the MI prop matte green. File, save all. Now, I was going to just type this out, but it's going to take way too long. I would rather spend all of our time actually talking about the code rather than spending a bunch of your time trying to type and dealing with, typing errors and so on and so forth. That way you don't have to stop the video and wait until I, or go back and try to figure out something that you missed or whatever. So I'm going to close this and show you how to open it. If you go up to Verse and then click on Verse Explorer, it'll give you this Explorer here. I'm just going to take that and drag it down in here and add it to this row. And if you right click on Verse Tutorial 1, add new verse file to project. And I'm going to call this verse prop manipulator. Just go up here, type verse prop. Manipulator, and create it. File and save all, and then go to verse and build verse code. Now inside your content browser, you've got created devices folder that it's added here, and it's put this new creative verse prop manipulator device in this verse device. If you just drag that out into the world, if you don't drag this out into the world, it doesn't work. But so you have to drag it out into the world. And then you can go to verse, and then verse prop manipulator. .verse, and it gives you all the code that's in here. We're going to just replace all this. So if you go to the description in the video, pause the video and go to the description and download the text file that I've added. It's called verse prop manipulator. You can download that, open it up in Notepad, and then once you got it open, just go and copy all of this. Then go back into your verse. And let's skip that purple line right there. I'm just going to leave a line at the top. Just makes it easier to look at. I'm going to delete all of that that's in there and just type this and just paste all this that I just copied out of Notepad. Go ahead and file, save. And then go up to verse and build verse code and make sure everything's okay. If something didn't get right, if you named it a little bit wrong, like if you didn't get a letter right here or anything, just all you have to do is go to this where it says verse prop manipulator class creative device and change this to match that exactly. Now, editable are things that we're actually spawning into the world, into our details, that we can make references to actual things inside of our game world. This one, at edible movable prop, creative prop equals creative prop. This just means that we're going to select a prop or a creative prop in the world, and we're going to call it movable prop. If you go back into your UFN here and you got the prop selected, you can see movable prop here. So I have to go to props. This is our platform. This is going to be our movable prop. We're going to move this all around. Go back to the verse manipulator. Then you can go to this movable prop here. You can either select it from the drop down list, or you can just take the side dropper and select it, which is the easier thing to do once you get iterating really fast. The next thing, let's see, on our verse, editable variable location marker, create a prop array. We're going to create an array of these local markers right here that we're going to use to move this platform all around to. It's going to move them one, then the next, and the next. And you can put as many of them as you want. I'm only going to put 3 just to show you how that works. But what the program is actually going to do is it's going to move the platform to this location, and then it's going to move it to the second one, and then it's going to move it to the third one. And then if we select looping, then it's going to move it back to the first one, back to the second one, back to the third one. It's just going to keep looping over and over again, doing the same thing. So back in here, we got this movable prop that we selected the editable, or that we set the editable for. So you just go to location, or the location marker, and then add a new location marker. Since this is going to be our first, if you look, that marker right there actually says BPP location marker. Now if you take and hold down Alt and drag off that, it'll create another one and automatically name it BPP location marker 2. So we can go back to here. Actually, we're going to add another array element. Select that marker. Then we can take that marker, or the other one, or any marker, and just duplicate it again. Add another location marker. And then select that. Okay, back to the code. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Rotate float, we've set as an editable. So you can actually have your pops rotate. You can make this can be a negative, plus or minus. You can put any number in here you want. If you want it just spinning super fast, you can do that. If you want it not spin at all, you can do that. 360 degrees is a full circle. 180 is a complete half turn. The next one is time. We've set that as a float. And it equals 3.0. I just made these. These are mostly, I didn't select them as variables. The only reason I selected location marker as a variable is because there's going to be more than one. The rest of these, there's only one. You know, you not have to change it mid-game. It's going to stay the same. Let's go back in here and change this back to selection mode. Just notice that. Anyway, I added some more variables down here. This marker, we're going to use this marker inside of our location marker array so that we can iterate through which entry into the array we're going to be using. The number of markers is the total number of location markers in this array. We're going to get a count of that so we know exactly how many there are, so we know where the end is. Selected location marker, creative prop. What did I use that for? Actually, there it is right there. Okay. Yeah. Change that back. The selected location marker is when it comes through select marker through this method right here, it's going to select that marker. And then it's going to pass it on to the position, to the prep position method here, that it's going to use this the data from this to actually move the prop to the prep position. Okay, so on begin always happens when you first start when you first start the first program. On begin is always going to happen. It's the same as in blueprints in Unreal Engine 4 and 5. The first thing that we needed to do is, okay, we've got our movable prop, so the processor needs to know what we're going to do with it. So the first thing we have to do is check to see that we've actually got our prop selected and our marker test, our prop selected and our location markers. There has to be actually just at least one for each of these. If there's not, if you haven't inside, if you haven't selected a platform or you haven't put any of these in, then it's not going to, the program's going to stop right there and it's not going to do anything else. This is a kind of a failure context. It prevents crash. It's going to prevent crashes. Then once it does find out that those elements are there, then it's going to set the number of markers, the total number. This is how many markers we set up, and it gets that from location marker dot length. That's the length of this array, and then it goes into select marker, executes the select marker method here. This method is actually set to suspends. You can't really see that it does. Not sure that actually has to even be in there. Probably not. So that's probably just some of the stuff I was messing around with. Once it goes into select marker, it checks to make sure this is a verification to make sure that there is a location marker at this, that this variable is not empty. It takes the location marker, this marker. So what we're doing there is we're getting this location marker variable, and we're finding the one on the first time that this runs at 0 because we've set that at 0. And the thing about arrays is, if you put 5 things in there, the elements are going to be numbered 0 through 4. They're not actually going to be numbered 1 through 5. So the first element there, the 0 is actually going to be this, and then when it goes to 1, it'll be the second one, and then when it goes to 2, it's going to be the third one. I know it's confusing, but that's the way that arrays have been since the beginning of programming, and I don't really know why they did that. I think by the time that they figured that it probably would have been less confusing, as everybody already knew how to do it that way, so they just didn't want to change it. Anyway, it's going to check to see if there's anything there, and it's going to fill it into a variable called element. So then when it figures out there is something there, if the if statement is true, it's going to set the selected location marker to element, to the location marker, this marker that we just chose. Then it's going to go to this next method called preposition, and it's going to send it this selected location marker that we just selected right here. Now into preposition, prop, it's just creating a variable called prop, and then it's using a creative prop, and then whatever gets sent into here is actually what it's going to use to fill that variable with. So you have to make sure that this variable type that you're sending to this method and the type that you're creating when it instantiates is the same type of variable. So this selected location marker is just a creative prop. It's going to be the first one here on the first go, and then this next one, and then the next one. But it has to go all the way through all this code to go to the second one, and we'll get to that. Then it takes that prop, creative prop, and it gets the transform. That's the three-dimensional. It's getting its location and rotation. Scale, some transforms have scale on it, but I don't think this transform has it in there because we don't ever have to pass it to it. So it's probably not part of the transform. Or it could be. It could just be it's, you have to actually select it to change it. We're getting the position. We're going to take this transform that we just made, and we're going to get this is the transform. We're going to take the translation of that, which is the X, Y, and Z coordinates. Now it's going to spawn this out. This is a spins. So what happens in this is actually going to stop the code from running. So it's probably better to spawn it. If you spawn this and then add more code down here, the rest of the code should execute from what I understand. But if you don't put the spawn there, if you just go to move prop, the code will not continue until after this move prop method is completed. And if we're looping through it, the move prop is just going to keep happening over and over again. So if you actually wanted to do two things at once, you would have to spawn there, that one, and then you could spawn the next thing on the next line. Okay, we're going into move prop. We're going to take our movable prop that we created, and then we're going to take the position that we just got and placed into this position variable. And we're going to send it to move prop. Prop's going to take that, or move prop is going to take that private, and then it's going to take a variable called prop, which is a creative prop, and it's going to fill it with this movable prop. And then this position is going to fill this translation, which is a vector 3. Then we have to label it with the spins. Prop on this one is movable prop. Prop on this one is location marker. I put these little comments on here so that you could go back and look at it. Now, if you go to here, we're going to take our transform of our actual prop, which is this is our movable prop, our platform. We're going to get the transform, and then we're going to get that translation from it. we're going to get its rotation. I got its scale there, but I don't think I needed it. I can just close that or just comment that out. If you go to here, it says new rotation. What we're going to do is we're going to take the rotation that it's at now and we're going to move it to a new rotation. So we take the new rotation. We're going to take the rotation of the platform as it is, and then we're going to apply yaw to it, which yaw is on the z-axis. It's just turning circles. The other two, let's go ahead and write that on there so that you'll know if you want to rotate something later. We'll put a comment on here. Pitch. And I can't remember what the other one was. Roll. So if you wanted to rotate it in different directions, or if you wanted to rotate in all three rotations, it's just up to you. You could put apply yaw, and then you could add it again to apply pitch, and then apply roll. Now the next thing we move to is the move result. And this is what actually is going to move our platform. It's taking our prop, which is our platform, and using a move to function. By the way, most of this stuff like transform, translation, get transform, rotation, if you just hold down your control key and you select that, then it'll pull up the documentation that it has on it. It's that one. Move to position vector 3, rotation, overtime, float. So that's basically you're going to move it from the position that it's at to this position and this rotation over this much time. If you've ever used blueprints, this is basically a timeline and a lerp. The timeline, you can't really adjust the curves on the timeline or anything, so it just kind of snaps. It doesn't ease in or and ease out or anything like that. So we're going to move it to our position, which we created a variable here called position, which is translation, and this is a public variable that we've made. Well, no, I passed it in, that's right. Translation actually came in from here when we spawned move prop. We took position and posted it into this translation variable, and then it's using that translation or that position, using that translation in the position variable. So it's going to move it to this position. It's going to move it to the new rotation. If you added rotation, if you just left that at 0, it's just going to keep the same rotation over this much time. And this is the amount of time that we entered in this variable here. This is going to suspend the method for the amount of time in seconds. So once it gets to here, this method is not going to run anymore until that finishes. And then once it finishes, we're going to check to see if we have moved to the destination, move to result, destination reached. And then we're going to check if we've got the looping, our looping variable, which is logic. It's set to false right now. If it's set to true, we're going to go ahead and set that to true. Then it's going to continue. It's going to take the marker that it's on right now, and then that's the marker, that's the actual array integer that we assigned, this marker int. It's checking to see if that is greater than the number of markers. And that's because once we get to the end, we want to know when we run out. If there are more markers after that 0, then it's going to take this marker and increment that by 1. So it's going to turn the 0 into a 1. Then it's going to check to make sure this marker is greater than, if this marker is greater than the number of markers minus 1. And the reason I say that is because the number of markers actually includes the 0. And this marker doesn't include the 0. So if that number of this marker is greater than the number of markers minus 1, then we're going to set this marker back to 0. So what that basically means is we only have one marker here. When it reaches this, if this marker is lesser than the number of markers, this marker is going to be a 0. The number of markers is going to be a 1. So it's going to set this marker to 1, but we don't have a 1 in here. All we have is a 0. So that's what the second test is for. If this marker is greater than the number of markers minus 1, the number of markers will be 1. You see what I'm saying? So the number of markers minus 1 is 0, which is how many markers this marker should be if we want to iterate through that again. Or if we want to know that that's the end. Then set this marker to equal 0. So if this does come out to be number of markers minus 1 equals 0, and we've turned this marker into 1, it's just going to turn it back to 0 again. And then we're going to invoke sleep, which is actually going to take this for 0.1 seconds, which is however many frames. If you're running 60 frames a second, I don't know how many frames that Fortnite Creative runs, or the UEFN runs, but we're just going to take 0.1 of that. If it's 60 frames a second, that's actually going to pull 6 frames out. If it's 30 frames a second, it's going to pull 3. And I made it do that because there are some issues where if you try to keep looping through a verse program without sleeping it, without pausing it for just a fraction of a second, then it'll actually kick out of the program. It's just something Epic Games did. Now, when you go back to select marker, when we go to this next one, if none of this is true, if looping is not true, none of this is going to happen. But if looping is true, it's going to go back to select marker. If you've got 3 in there, this is basically turned this into, it's turned this marker into a 1. So it's going to come back to select markers, if element location marker, and instead of being a 0 here this time, it's just going to be a 1. And then it's going to roll all the way through all that over again. And you might be wondering why we're just moving props around. You could just use the prop manipulator, which the rotate doesn't work real well on, and you could use cinematics. But the thing about cinematics is they're really slow. This is going to be for like really fast iteration, or just to do things that you want to do a lot of. Like if you go in here, we've already set all our stuff up here. Let's go ahead and launch the session. Actually, let's save all that first. First thing I want to do, this platform, in the first, when it goes into its, to move to the first location marker, it's going to go from here to there, and it's going to take 3 seconds. And I don't want it to just kind of be jogging along right there. Since we know this is the last location, and when it loops, it's going to be coming from there back to here, then I can just select that, right click the location and copy it, and then go to our platform here and paste it, and that way it just continually moves. It doesn't have that extra time there where it's not in that loop that I want it to move through. I'll go ahead and do this. I'm going to set it to 2 seconds. Make sure looping is set. Make sure our enabled at game start is set. I don't think we need it to be visible in game. I'm going to have it rotate just like 20 degrees. It's going to rotate 20 degrees from here, 20 degrees from here, extra 20 from there, extra 20, 20, 20. It's going to keep adding 20 degrees to the rotation as it goes through the loops. Go ahead and launch it. It's going to take a few minutes to load, so I'm going to stop the video and then start it again when everything gets loaded. All right, now that we've loaded in, you can set our location markers or prop. We can actually set those location markers to be invisible in game. We'll do that here in a minute. But let's go ahead and play it. So what it looks like. It's going to be kind of jumpy. We are still in the alpha of Verse and the beta of UEFN. So things are going to improve quite a bit and things aren't going to be so jumpy later on. I don't think I can jump onto that. No, it's moving too fast. But let's go ahead and exit out of it. Show you something really cool. Let's take, I'm going to go back into UEFN. I'm going to move our location markers a little bit. Let's move that one up. And then this one we can move down. Take our player 1 spawn pad. Stick it on there. Not exactly where exactly though. I think the platforms, the origin is set at the bottom, so I'm going to raise it up just a little bit from the middle. See if I can make this work. Probably should have topped down this so I could see it better. I'm going to set it about right there. Then file and save all. When you just kind of move stuff around, when you don't do a whole lot, you don't really have to push the changes. They just happen automatically. Then we can start the game. We'll actually start up standing on this spawn pad. Oh, I stopped the wrong one. In game. I moved the wrong spawn pad. Could have sworn that said player 1. That says player 2. Why did it start me on player 2? Oh well, we'll just move it over here. I can see this one better anyway. All right there. Try to get me in the middle of it so I don't fall off. Now either way, I'm going to start on that thing. Alright, go back in, start the game. Oh, it didn't pick me up. Oh, I'm standing on the ball. That's why. Okay. Let's go ahead and fix that right quick. In the game. Go back into UEFN. Go into this PPP location marker right here. Let's see. No collision. Turn that on no collision so there isn't any collision on that. That could cause us some problems anyway. And turn off generate overlap events. Reason for that is you can turn off cast shadow. We don't want to be running into this ball and getting knocked off our little platforms. So we're going to turn the collision off on that. And also where this says visible, actually we can change it up here, I think. Select this. Actor hidden in game. So that way we can still see them in our level. I'll have to change all those that we've already made. We can see them in our level, but when we're playing the game, we're not seeing that. And now we'll have to push changes. And this is going to take a little bit, so I'm going to pause the video. Okay, now we're back. Go ahead and start it. Now when we're in game, we shouldn't be able to see those. Yeah, it's still not picking me up. I'm going to just step off on it. See if I can step off on it really quick. Oh, no. I'm going to just go to the first one here. Oh, that one doesn't work either. There we go. It's probably going to drop me off on these since the collision is set up so high on them. I don't know why that collision is so high on that. Here, let's just... We can just take those props and move them. Get out of my way. Player number 2. Stick it over here right quick. Alright, we can jump on it from here. Oh, I missed it. Yeah, well, you get the idea. I'd have to slow it down a little bit. Not that fast. There we go. Oh, I'm falling off. You gotta crouch down because it's jerking back and forth so fast that it slides you off of it. It does transform your physics. Yeah, it still popped me off. I'm gonna end that. Make sure I'm not still colliding with this. Well, I can't see the meshes in there. Let's go back to here. Oh, that's not that. That's just I'm thinking about. Still got some collision going on in there. We can turn it off in our mesh. Collisions. Block all. Yeah, it's still set to block all. No collision. See if that works. Save. That editor only static mesh component. It's set to no collision. I don't think there's any reason to have gravity enabled on that. Lighting stuff, rendering. Receives decals. Couldn't be any collision on that. Save all. And I'm going to push changes again. See if it works now. Yeah, completely missed it. I'm not running into something now though, so it should be good. Yeah, it's still dropping me off there. It's probably because it's too small. Let's make it a little bit bigger. We'll just take our platform. Hadn't thought of that. Change the scale on it a little bit. It's 1.5. I got this little lock select on here so that it changes all three scales at the same time. You can unlock that and change them differently. But for stuff you just want to keep the same shape, I recommend just keeping it locked. So that way you don't accidentally descale something or morph it. And one more time. See, now we got a big platform. I can definitely jump on that. No, I definitely can't. Keep missing it. Where's that thing going to? I can't see it. Oh, I'm jumping over it. That's why. There, it's sitting right there. Am I up in the air here? Yep. That stupid thing is still there. That ball. I just cannot get the collision to stop on that thing. Here, let's just do it this way. This is not working. So, I'm going to take all three of these location markers here. Oops, not the platform. Okay, I figured it out. Okay, I figured it out. Inside your BPP location marker, you go to BPP location marker self. You have to select no physics collision, no camera collision, no pawn collision. And then come down here, select no collision. I just made sure no collision to everything. No camera, no weapon collision, no ranged weapon collision, no projectile collision. Do not block, interact, allow custom material. I just left that the same. And then I turned off allow interact. And compiled and saved it. And then pushed the changes. And now, I'm going to leave that platform bigger though, because it's actually easier to get on. So, and I'll show you. First time you run, it's going to be really buggy. It's always going to be a little bit buggy. You can see it kind of flashy. So it's not as clean an animation as you would get in cinematics. But it's a lot more controlled than like the Move to. See how I'm just barely turning here? That's the rotation coming into play. Crouch down, she's a little more stable. It's because of the rig. But you can see she's got wind. Everything's working good. And then I'm going to go ahead and close that. just because my computer runs better. If you wanted to like have a lot of different ones, this is where it gets easier than using cinematic or the move to. And I'll show you why. Because I can just take this and hold down Alt and drag it and create another one of those. Wow, I can't see those location markers at all. Oh, it's because they're tiny. I'm going to change it back. So I can see them again. Then, if you wanted to take your little platform here, hold down Alt, you can grab another one. I'm going to move it up to the same position as this, so I can copy that location, paste it to this platform. Now, this is my first manipulator, and then this is my second one. So I'm going to change my platform for it. So I'll just use the eyedropper, select platform 2. Then on location markers, I'm going to change the order of them. So I'm going to make this one my first one. Then I'm going to make that one my second one. And then I'm going to make that one my third one. I'm going to make it rotate -20. So it's doing something a little bit different. File and save all. And then I'm going to launch it. Start it up. And now we're going to have 2 platforms going. Just kind of circling each other. You could use different markers, location markers, and have these just doing completely different things, or you could just have them following each other, or whatever you wanted to do. In that game, go back into our verse code. I want to show you something else. Like, say if you wanted to move 2 items at the same time, then you could just put movable prop 2, location marker. You could leave the location markers the same. If you wanted to rotate the other item, you could add rotate 2. You're going to need the same time if you want them both moving at the same time, so you don't have to change that. And the looping would still be the same. And then, each marker, you just put 2, or each thing that you're going to change. This marker, number markers, and location markers aren't going to change. So here, you're just chesting markers. Here, you're getting your location marker, prep position, and then you would need those extra variables down here. So you would have transform 2, position 2, rotation 2, new rotation 2, move result 2. Actually, no, move result. We would actually move both props inside the move result. You move prop, move 2. Or, no, I got that wrong. Actually, here where you spawn it, on your spawn, you would put another spawn and then move prop, and then instead of movable prop, your new movable prop 2 and your position 2. And that way it would spawn them both it would spawn one right after the other. The other one's going to run like 1 frame behind the other one, but they're going to be so close you won't be able to tell the difference. Other things you could do, you could put like a death wall in here. Let's see. All damage volume. Let's put a damage volume here. Let's change the scale on it. Move it way over here. Just so we have these separated. Let's add another part manipulator. So just hold down Alt and drag off. And then as our movable prop, we can actually select our... Oh, it won't let us move the damage volume. Oh well. You can move that inside of a cinematic though, so I'm not sure why that won't work. Because it is a creative prop. Anyway, you don't just have to move around platforms, though. You can move around most stuff. I guess that isn't interactive. Here, we'll just delete that one off of there. Can't believe the damage volume doesn't work. I guess it's not movable. Well, I know it works in cinematics. Like, say if I were to create a cinematic here. They'll save that for another video. Anyway, if you guys have any questions or whatever, just post them in the comments. I'll try to answer what I can. But one of the things about creating stuff and turning it, rotating it, and applying Eulers and stuff is you can run into some problems, especially with with modeling mode. A lot of times if you manipulate stuff around when you're modeling or whatever, it changes and gives all these weird angles, and it can cause stuff to like rotate strangely. Instead of just rotating here, it tries to spin it over the pitch and the roll and the yaw at the same time. You want to try to move things in a way that, or try to model things in a way that you're going to turn them where they are, rather than trying to take this and then turn it and put it into a blueprint, because it's not going to work right. There might be, for the boxes and stuff, it's going to be easy. You're not going to have to worry about it. But something like a cylinder, I can't really find. Let's see, pivot location base. Well, yeah, there it is right there, centered. If I want to rotate that 90 degrees. No, it still doesn't do it. See, the problem is when I rotate that, and then I start doing those Euler angles to try to spin it this way, it's not going to work. Or it's going to give you a lot of problems. It might work though. I haven't actually tried it on the Move 2. I have tried it with the cinematics, and it just kind of goes crazy. So I would only expect that Verse would do the same thing. So I don't know why the thing. Oh. It's just turning it around this way. The 90-degree rotating. It's not allowing me to rotate it that way. And I don't know why. They should have made it to where you could, hang on, world space, show wireframe. No, there isn't a way for me to rotate this. You may be able to rotate in a blueprint. I hadn't tried that. Let's go into our meshes here. Yeah, I've created a couple of cylinders now. Props. Let's see if we can rotate it inside the blueprint class, but I don't think we can. Let's save all that. And then here, we can add our static mesh. And no, there's no way to rotate it. So if we rotate that out in the world and then try to create a blueprint, it's not going to work. We could actually set the verse file to turn it first and then spin it or whatever if we needed to. But from what I'm seeing, there's no way to make this until they get better modeling tools here. There's no way to make the modeling tools here really work well. You're probably going to have to use Blender to make some of your stuff. If I wanted to make like a spinning saw blade, it would only be this way. I'd only be able to turn it this way. As if I turned it that way and then made a blueprint out of it, it's still going to be turned back because I'm not making the blueprint out of what's in the scene here. I'm actually making the blueprint out of the cylinder. Actually, one thing we could do, let's take this cylinder and put it here. That cylinder. We'll make it smaller. I'm going to turn this snapping off. Actually, let's do this. Go to the bottom where I can just select only this part. Add us another one here. Then I can make booleans. Go back into modeling mode here. Let's see, poly edit. Take that, select it, and then shift and select this one. Select boolean, and then up here, union. So I'm going to make one piece out of both of those two pieces. Then accept it, and now it's going to make us a new model with no problems at it. Select this one, click boolean, accept, and now it's actually transformed our origin back into the center. Now we got this thing. Let's go ahead and delete that and get it out of the way. Create a new blueprint, building prop, BPP, spinner. Open it up. Now I'm going to go to the meshes and create that weird thing I just made. And we can add our spinner. We can go ahead and put like the blue on it or something. I thought that would be easier. Prop matte blue. Couldn't think of the name. Yeah, don't show me that again. Save all. Actually, you got to compile it. Then save all. I'll go back to my props and pull this spinner out here. I'm going to just take one of these, drag off of it. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff here. Location marker. I'm going to take this and drag it off. Oops, wrong button. Alt. Let's take this. I'm going to raise it up a little bit. Actually, no. It's going to go right into the center of that anyway. Copy this. Then I can paste this location marker here. That way we're in the right spot. Select my little guy there. Select that. Spinner as my movable prop. Add in one to the location marker array. And I'm going to make sure I select location marker 4. I'm going to have it locate 180 every 2 seconds looping. I'm going to push my changes. Start the game. We got this cool spinny thing over here. This thing, I can't get the collision to work on anything like this to actually push the player for like some Fall Guys action or something. There's probably other people that are doing tutorials that'll show you how to do that. I just hadn't looked it up yet. I've just been too busy dealing with the code. But as you can see, it does come up with kind of a weird game. You could almost jump off of that onto there. It's timed just right. Oh, I almost jumped on it. Let's try that again. Oh, oh well. You get the idea. I hope you made it where you had to jump off the platform onto the rotating device. Wonder if that'd be any more easier. Probably not. These things are moving fast. It's doable. You could do it. Make a nice little obstacle course. Anyway, all right, now for real now. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm sorry the videos was so long, but there's just a lot to cover here. Oh, I gotta cover something else right quick too. Just really quick. Let's go back into our verse file here. Anytime that you have to do anything inside of a, like select a piece of an array, or extract something out of it, or add something to it, you have to put it into a failure context, and that's going to keep your programs from crashing. It's something they did. They made it to where you couldn't do it, but in a lot of programs like C++, you just have to do things in order for the processor to always know what's going on. Otherwise, the program will crash. So in this case right here, in my select marker, if the location marker, this marker. So what that's basically saying is, if this is not empty, if this creates a variable that is not empty, then go ahead and perform these operations. Otherwise, prep position never gets called. So what happens is, if that fails, all that'll happen is nothing will happen. Whereas if I place this outside somewhere and then I put an empty space in prep position, and then it tried to get the transform from a prop that didn't have any position, that didn't exist, then compilers kind of go nuts on that. And when your processor actually tries to run that and it runs out of instructions, it sits there and waits, and actually waits and waits and stops all processes until that variable or that problem gets solved, and it won't never solve the problem, so it just crashes the program. So inside of verse, that's why they have the thing called failure context, and where you have to put operations inside of a failure context, which means that this is a true or false. Like if marker test, this marker, and if the movable prop or both exist, then go ahead and do this and then select marker. Otherwise, if there isn't anything there, then it never selects the marker. It's a true or false. If this is true, then do this. If it's not true, then don't do anything, because it runs out right here. Or you could put an else, do something else. But I just wanted to go over that right quick. Anyway, be sure and watch all the videos for Wahlbeck Warforge. He's really good. He's like way better than teaching this than I am. So that's the reason I strictly highly recommend that you watch those even before you do this, so that you'll get a good idea of more of an idea of what's going on. He's a better instructor than I am. Anyway, thanks you guys for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe. I'll try to make some more of these videos as I come up with stuff to do with them, as long as it's anything useful. And I appreciate it.